All right, let's also dip into live visuals coming in from Sushma Swaraj's residence, where President Ram Nath Kovind has arrived to pay his last respect to the BJP veteran who passed away last night at the age of 67. It was just yesterday that she had sent out a tweet congratulating the Indian Prime Minister for the abrogation of the Kashmir Article 370, and shortly after sending out that tweet, the former External Affairs Minister was admitted to AIIMS. As you can see, the President is meeting Ms. Swaraj's daughter, Basari, and her husband, Mr. Swaraj. It will be later during the day that Sushma Swaraj's cremation will be given full state honor. The President at Sushma Swaraj's residence, just arriving to pay homage at a very young age of 67. Much was talked about her health ever since she got a kidney operated in the year 2016, and yet she fought valiantly. Also actively participated in Indian politics, somebody who's known for her contribution to foreign policy. Sushma Swaraj reshaped India's foreign policy matters. She'll always be remembered as someone who actively participated and contributed through digital diplomacy, where she used Twitter as a tool to reach out to the masses. She also made External Affairs Ministry something that was accessible. She's left behind a legacy which will be accessible now for the masses. She was extremely prompt on social media. Ever since the news of her sad demise broke out, politicians from across party lines have been queuing up to pay their last respect. The last being the President of India, Mr. Ram Nath Kovind. As you can see, he just arrived at Ms. Swaraj's residence to pay his last respect. He conveyed his condolences to Ms. Swaraj's daughter Basari and Mr. Swaraj, her husband. Ms. Swaraj began her career as a lawyer in the Supreme Court. She has many feathers to her cap. Being the youngest cabinet minister in Haryana, she was the first female spokesperson of a national party, BJP's first female chief minister, the union cabinet minister, the general secretary of BJP, leader of opposition, minister of external affairs, and the only female parliamentarian to receive the Outstanding Parliamentarian Award, also a recipient of Spain's Grand Cross of Order of Civil Merit. Her outreach to the global community was outstanding. It is no surprise why the entire world has reacted at the demise of India's former external affairs minister, from Afghanistan's former president to British cabinet minister Priti Patel. Reactions from the international community have been pouring in non-stop, condoning the death of Sushma Swaraj. Let's also go across to our correspondent Siddhant Sibbal, who is currently stationed at the BJP headquarters, and get a live update on what's happening. Siddhant, we just witnessed President Ram Nath Kovind's visit to Sushma Swaraj's residence. In how much time from now can we expect her mortal remains to arrive at the BJP headquarters?
Well, Akanksha, her body will be brought here to the BJP headquarters at around 11:30 a.m. and will be kept till 3 p.m. And we know that a lot of BJP Karyakarta or workers will be coming here to pay homage. But the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be shortly reaching her residence to pay homage, and later in the evening will be present at the cremation ground at around 4:30 p.m. But if we talk about her tenure, her role, she's being remembered right now by many people, not just here in India but across the world. We know that tributes have been pouring in because it was a shock which still people are not able to get over from. I've been speaking to envoys, many of whom have said that they have a lot of personal anecdotes when it comes to talking with her, how she approached contentious issues, which were problem but could easily be solved, and her out-of-the-box thinking approach to anything, whether it's geopolitics or dealing with people. She basically put people at the center of her policy, when she was the External Affairs Minister.
Right.
But it's just not her role as the External Affairs Minister that she will be remembered. She will be remembered as a politician, as a leader who made sure that BJP rises to the present level where BJP right now is. And of course, her role in Delhi as the Chief Minister as well.
Absolutely. Not only will she be remembered for her reputation of being an easily accessible External Affairs Minister, as you rightly mentioned, she will also be remembered as a stalwart when it comes to being a part of the BJP. On that note, Siddhant, let's also talk about how she's been this beautiful connect between the old school of thought when it comes to the BJP and the new school of thought, almost combining the ideologies of, say, Atal Bihari Vajpayee and the current Prime Minister Modi.
Well, she was a people's politician, a connect between the old BJP, in a sense, a BJP of Vajpayee's era and BJP of Narendra Modi's era, and the best of both the worlds she was able to bring to the people. And of course, we know that she chose not to become the foreign minister in the second tenure of the Modi government because of the deteriorating health. But largely, she was a person who believed in ethics. Immediately when she in her new role, not being the new foreign minister, she immediately vacated the house which was allotted to her, something that is not seen in many politicians who have been given bungalows here in prime locations in Delhi. But other than that, it's her Twitter diplomacy that garnered her a lot of kudos from across the world. We know that she was one of the most followed politicians on Twitter, and we also know that how she was able to give relief to people in distress. Many of the cases, whether it's Geeta, who was brought from Pakistan, or whether it's Hamid Nihal Ansari, these were the people, the visuals which, when they came to India, when they met the External Affairs Minister, are still etched in the mind of people. They are going viral even as we speak on social media, on Twitter. And of course, her role in shaping India's new dynamic policy, a policy in which India was more defensive, India was more able to counter. Big example being the Kulbhushan Yadav case, in which it was her decision to make sure that India goes to the World Court, and India last month got this major diplomatic victory at the World Court.
All right, Siddhant. So quite a prolific legacy left behind by late Sushma Swaraj ji. And on that note, let me also go across to Gautam Bambawale, our guest joining us. He is a former Indian ambassador to China. He's joining us live from this broadcast. Mr. Bambawale, how would you look at the legacy left behind Sushma Swaraj ji? Because she was a stateswoman extraordinaire, a diplomat par excellence. How would you remember her?
Well, I first met Sushma ji when she was the leader of the opposition in the period 2009 to 2014. And we used to go and brief her because the leader of the opposition in India also calls on incoming heads of state and heads of government, prime ministers and presidents. And thereafter, of course, from 2014, she was our minister in the Ministry of External Affairs. Throughout this period, I found that she was very bright, very intelligent, she was well-read, and she would understand the nuances of a particular relationship very, very well. You only have to remember that it was Madam Sushma Swaraj who would be very, very articulate about Indian foreign policy when she was External Affairs Minister, both in Parliament and for the media. and she would do a fantastic job in explaining our foreign policy. So this is a great loss to the country, and we will, of course, those of us who have worked with her, mourn her passing and hope that her family can cope with this loss.
Right, indeed, a great loss for the entire nation, and it's in fact the entire nation which is mourning the loss of Madam Sushma Swaraj. Sir, how would you look at her contribution to Indian foreign policy? What sort of initiatives would you attribute to her?
Look, I think what all of you have been saying in the media and across the world, of course, is absolutely right, that Madam Sushma Swaraj took the Ministry of External Affairs to the people, not only of India, but also of many other countries. I think this is her legacy, and this is something which the government of India, the Ministry of External Affairs will want to continue. But I would also say that apart from all this, she played a very important role in shaping India's foreign policy over the last 5 years between 2014 and 19. I recollect that when I was India's High Commissioner in Pakistan and then later Ambassador to China, she would frequently call me over the phone and we would discuss issues apart from, of course, helping Indians who were in distress. Very often I would come back to Delhi and we would have long discussions about how to shape our policy towards important nations such as Pakistan, China, and the United States. I think this is one aspect of Madam Swaraj which must be remembered apart from her contribution to making foreign policy more people-centric.
Absolutely, Mr. Bambawale. And, much is attributed to Prime Minister Modi's government in his first tenure for taking India's foreign policy to a global level. And needless to say, Sushma Swaraj's role in reshaping India's foreign policy is indispensable. There's a rich legacy she's left behind. On that note, let's also take our viewers through her career. A senior leader of Bharatiya Janata Party, Swaraj was serving as the Minister of External Affairs of India from 26 May 2014 to 30th May 2019. She was the second woman to hold the office after Indira Gandhi. She was elected 7 times as a Member of Parliament and 3 times as a Member of the Legislative Assembly. At the age of 25 in 1977, she became the youngest Cabinet Minister of the Indian state of Haryana. She also served as the 5th Chief Minister of Delhi from 13th October 1998 to 3rd December 1998. She became the Minister of External Affairs in the Union Cabinet on 26 May 2014. Swaraj was called India's best-loved politician by the US daily Wall Street Journal. Sushma Swaraj decided not to contest the 2019 Indian general election due to health reasons as she was recovering from a kidney transplant. Let's go back to Mr. Bambawale on that note. Mr. Bambawale, a very, very brave politician, I must say, because somebody who had a kidney transplant back in the year 2016, she continued to play an effective foreign affairs minister. How would you look at her role? Don't you think she's fit enough to be called the Iron Lady of India? Because to achieve that kind of status in the Indian government has been an uphill task for any woman, and she, of course, did that with much aplomb.
I agree with you entirely. You can call her the Iron Lady of Indian politics. I have seen her in difficult meetings with Chinese leaders, with Chinese foreign ministers, the Russian foreign minister, with people in Pakistan, and also with others. And she was graceful, but yet she could put across India's point of view very, very carefully, very well, very forcefully, and she would articulate India's positions extremely well. So yes, she was an excellent foreign minister, and I recollect that in April of 2018, when the foreign ministers of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization met in Beijing, she was the only lady foreign minister amongst 10 other male foreign ministers, but she stood very, very tall there.
Absolutely. That's a very, very strong image that comes to our mind of her. That image that you're talking about, even though she was diminutive in build, she had a towering presence among all those male counterparts at these foreign international platforms, be it at the OIC, the UNGA meet. You know, she's of course left an indelible impact. Many firsts to her credit also, as the first female spokesperson of a national party, BJP's first female chief minister, the only female parliamentarian to receive the Outstanding Parliamentarian Award. How do you think she has, you know, what sort of a legacy has she left behind, and especially for other aspiring female politicians of the country?
Oh, she leaves behind a very, very strong legacy, a very tall legacy. It's something which other lady politicians and lady diplomats must aspire to achieve. But I think it will be difficult to reach the standards that Madam Sushma Swaraj had reached. She will be remembered very fondly by people across the world because she touched so many lives, including ordinary people and ordinary citizens of India. We all know that. And I think that this is going to be a very tough act to follow. And it's a great loss to the country. It's a great loss to the government. And I hope that her family can recover from this loss.
All right. Mr. Bambavale, we are also going to talk about her social media reach, which was phenomenal. But before I do that, let's also go through that tweet that she sent out last night. She spoke of something which might shock all of our viewers, be just a coincidence, but Sushma Swaraj actually tweeted this. Thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you very much. I was waiting to see this day in my lifetime. Sushma Swaraj was referring to Article 370 being revoked in the Parliament by Modi government, almost like an epiphany over there. Mr. Bambavale, your take on how social media friendly she was, and because of her social media outreach, how accessible she made the External Affairs Ministry to be.
Absolutely, you cannot be faulted on this point. You're absolutely right. Being a political leader of the highest standing, she was aware of the force of the social media. Even though those of us who worked in the Ministry of External Affairs, we were not so aware of the power, the multiplication power of the social media. But she brought this into the ministry. She made all our missions, our posts, our headquarters in Delhi very social media friendly. And I think we are the better for it. She was absolutely superb on Twitter. She was absolutely superb on other social media outlets such as Facebook. And I think that she literally pulled us up by the bootstraps within the Ministry of External Affairs, where dealing with the social media is concerned. So yes, we learned a lot from her, and I think there can be no turning back. We have to continue her legacy in these terms also.
Right. Mr. Bambavale, you know, her diplomacy is often accompanied by the term fast-track diplomacy. How would you look at the contributions made by her when it comes to multilateral engagements, including the ASEAN Regional Forum or India's Act East policy? Even her presence at OIC was a towering one. She left an indelible impact over there, working tirelessly. How would you look at her policy initiatives?
Well, what I remember first and foremost about Madam Sushma Swaraj was the many times that she spoke at the UN General Assembly and the superb language that she used in explaining India's positions and India's foreign policy at the UN General Assembly each year in September. That is what I can remember first and foremost. But you are right that she worked very hard on multilateral diplomacy in all directions, whether it was India's Act East policy, dealing with the ASEAN nations, the Southeast Asian nations, or the Shanghai Cooperation Organization membership that India got in the last couple of years. She was very, very active and in the forefront in all of this. And what you said about her recent participation at the OIC Foreign Ministers meeting is also very, very true, that she successfully represented India, forcefully represented India's viewpoints in all these multilateral fora.
All right, very rightly said. She forcefully represented India at all these multilateral forums, and with her speeches, she often weaved history at these international platforms. Thank you so much, Mr. Bambavle, for joining us here on WION and sharing your precious perspective. And with that, it's a wrap of this newscast. Thank you so much for joining us here on this special tribute to Sushma Swaraj. News and updates continue on World is One after a short break.